Richard Szerman in studio. Richard Szerman, good morning.
Morning.
I can't help but notice while Kyle was doing the weather, you were kind of jamming to the weather music.
Yeah, I like the weather music. I like all music in general. So, but yeah, I like the weather music.
You were getting into it. Richard Szerman from Alta Realty. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you today? Thank you for having me on again.
Of course.
I appreciate that.
Of
nice
course.
To you guys.
You're most welcome. You are, how can we put this? Santa Clarita's best, most helpful realtor person who really cares.
Sure, I'll take all that. I hope that's true.
Well,
I want it to be true.
I hope so because I'm having the name tag made.
Oh, spectacular!
So make changes now.
I'm wearing that around town for sure. No, that is spectacular. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I came in today. I wanted to say thank you to KHTS. As a matter of fact, some of the things we've been doing on the air have had a dramatic effect, which is very, very nice. I wanted to share some of that with you guys and with their listeners because it's kind of a big deal. KHTS is nice enough. You guys, Tori, you're nice enough to have me on. And Kyle, nice to have me on. More than you probably should, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I do bring cookies, so I'm not about bribing you for airtime. But
and we're fine with it.
Yeah,
we're okay with it.
And thanks to Carl and Jerry as well for letting me do this every so often. But some of the things we've done have had a pretty dramatic effect, and again, I want to say thank you for it. I'll take you one case in particular. This is just recent. This is last week. There's a company, one of these vulture lenders seconds that we talk about, these zombie seconds that I'm always railing about. And what happened in this case is we had a house that we were trying to get sorted out. I don't know if you guys remember. We had a lot of these where the second was completely intractable because their whole model is just to foreclose. They're not looking to work anything out. They're just foreclose. That they're going to they're basically steal your equity. That's what they're there for. A zombie second, again, is a loan that you thought was dead, comes back to life, steals your second, takes your house from you.
Hence the name.
Exactly. So in this particular case, this company behaved very, very badly. It's called West Coast Capital. The fellow who runs it is a guy named Marcel Wise. I wouldn't ordinarily use somebody's name, but he's so arrogant. He says, yes, use my name. It's fine. Because you got to love it when somebody who's doing something that's totally and completely immoral. And your point of view, my point of view, I think most people's point of view, like a surprise foreclosure on an elderly widow, I think is a pretty immoral thing to do, especially if it's a house she's been in for 16, 17 years. I think that's wrong. But anyway, you got to love it when somebody who does that thinks they're right. So that's who he is. But the nice thing here is KHTS was nice enough to have me on. We told the story. We did a nice write-up about it that was online. People responded to it, and this is the part I want to say thank you for to the listeners and the people who look online. When you guys put stuff in the comments section, when you call, whether it's my office or whoever it is you're calling to talk about these things, certainly my office is great, or whoever we're directing you to, it makes a difference. In this case, we had another one because somebody called me up and said, hey, I Googled West Coast Capital. I saw that you had this fight with them. A fight that we lost. I mean, she did lose her house. But and I'm having a similar problem with them. So we said, okay, fine, we'll be happy to take this on. We've had several of these now where people have heard about this online, have come to us with this company in particular. And anyway, long story short, we contacted him, and he immediately said, who? You're with what company? Oh, yeah, why don't we work at a plan? Let's see if we can find a way to keep these people in their house. We went, that's a great idea, Marcel. We'd like to do that as well. But it is a complete sea shift from where his behavior was and what they were willing to do previously. Because they've now decided that they don't like it when somebody types in their company name and this story comes up, which is 100% true and verifiable, that KHTS was nice enough to help us publicize. They don't like the fact that people can now look them up and see that they've done bad things. They don't like that.
So the court of public opinion has worked in this particular case.
Yeah, I mean, we're not resolved yet, but we have 3 more now that have come in, people who are having trouble with the same company. And when this happens frequently, we publicize a company we're fighting with and somebody comes in. Because the big banks are pretty well known, B of A, Wells, et cetera, and we do those as well. But these little ones are the ones that are a bit more dangerous because they don't have a public face, so you can't really shame them into behaving themselves. They don't have stock. They're not on the open market. And they behave horribly. And they found this loophole that they're exploiting all over California, and people are losing their homes as a result. It's just very, very interesting to me, the complete and utter change in their behavior and in their business model, because, again, they don't like it when somebody Googles their name and they see what they did to this last poor woman that we had. I feel bad that we weren't able to accomplish more for her, but I feel very hopeful that we're able to accomplish for everyone else. And that's largely because of KHTS, so thank you. KHTS makes a difference.
You are very welcome. I know you work closely with one of our writers in the features department, Melissa Lampert.
Yeah.
And and you guys have put out some amazing articles because I think, and I say this over and over again, but I think it bears repeating. We just don't know that there's help out there.
That's how these guys get away with
this.
We
don't realize if someone in a relatively high up position, like this dude that you're talking about, says, shakes his finger and says, shame on you, you're losing your house.
You haven't paid us. We're taking your house.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we back up into a corner and kind of cry, and then here it is. Here's my house. And we don't realize that people like you, Richard Szerman of Alta Realty, can actually help and make a difference in these things. We don't know it.
Yeah, well, it's also not just, we've built a whole network around this over the years. We have accountants and attorneys, and the station's been very helpful as well, and all sorts of people that we put together, because we do this for free. We want people to know that not only is the help available to them, but this is completely free of charge. We have never charged for this. We will never charge for this as long as I have a say in it. That's just not going to happen. I don't think it's right to take money from people who are already in financial trouble. It's just not right. And once you start doing one for free, you sort of have to do them all for free. And it's also not just that. It's more fun. It really is a good time. People also don't have to worry about my motivations. I have no financial motivation in doing this. I mean, yes, I would like to represent them in the future when their life is sorted out. That's how I keep the lights on at my company. But we're happy to earn that. I mean, that's totally fine.
And who wouldn't? Yeah. If you help me keep my house and then I turn around and sell it, why wouldn't I come back to you?
Exactly. And
why wouldn't I?
People also tend to send friends and relatives and things like that. So it's the more you give, the more you get is not a revolutionary business model. It's just so few people operate that way these days. And we've been doing that for the better part of, I'm going on almost 30 years now. I think 27 years.
Let me ask you a question about these other dudes. The one you were talking about from the company.
My friend Marcel, yeah, sure.
So is there a lot of profit in just being mean and horrible?
Yes.
And it's just money.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. Yeah. Money. It's not he doesn't look at himself in the mirror every morning, apparently.
Well, I think that's the issue he's starting to have. At least that's what it seems like to me. I don't know. I'm not his priest and I'm not his father. It's not my job to sort his life out. That's up to him. I just know that what he has done to this one case was particularly horrible. Here we have an elderly woman who is a widow. She lost her husband about 4 years prior. We got her first modified with a reasonable bank and no problem. And they said, we want to keep you in the house. That's better. No big deal. And then 2 years later, she gets a letter in the mail. Hi, surprise, we bought your second that you didn't know you even had because we told you it was charged off, or the previous bank told you it was charged off. But it's not. It's still on title. So please give us $300,000 in the next 90 days. We're taking your house. But it's okay. If you give $75,000 next week, we might back off a little bit. I mean, that was the offer that he made. That's ridiculous. And the reason for that was the house had about $40,000 worth of equity in it, and they bought the note for much less than that. So they bought the note for next to nothing, and that's their model. They're going to foreclose and make money, and that's exactly what they did. But now we've exposed them.
Richard, because we only have about a minute and a half left, but I do need to ask this question.
Please.
Let's go back to this zombie second.
Yes, ma'am.
How does this happen? How does this exactly happen?
Typically, sometimes you buy a house. It was very popular, especially up until about 2009. When you buy a house with a first and a second, 80% of your mortgage was a first, 20% was a second. That's how you got to 100% financing. Sometimes people just took out HELOCs. They took out home equity lines. Mm-hmm. There are various ways that seconds get on a property. But the thing to remember is that the people you're dealing with, and I hate to say this because this sounds awful, but are often not honest. I mean, when you get a letter in the mail that says, we are your second mortgage holder, we have determined that your loan should be charged off, no further payments are necessary. I would think, great, one less thing to worry about. Now, I know better because I do this for a living, but most people think one less thing to worry about. They don't check their title because unless the debt has been reconveyed, which means it's been taken off your title, I don't care that you've paid it off. It still exists. You must get it off title, and you must get the documents necessary to do that. And unless you do, what can happen is they will sell this loan to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else, and eventually somebody's going to come calling and say, hey, surprise, not only do you owe us what you owe us when you took out the loan or when you stopped paying on or when we charged it off, but you also owe us all the accrued interest from then to now, which is usually about 5 to 10 years. And it usually about triples the amount of the debt. And now you can't pay it. There's no way.
Okay, so in 30 seconds,
Well, it's hard for me. I'll do my best.
I have another question.
Yes.
In that letter that they get saying it's been charged off, wouldn't it be nice in the same letter if they could say, however, please check your title and make sure you owe no further monies from here? Why can't we just be nice and say, go look it up?
Because you're talking about banks. Banks aren't in business. I've been told this more times than I can care to think about from every level at every bank in this country at one time or another. Banks are not in business to be nice. Banks are not in business to help you. Banks are in business to make money for their shareholders. That's it. They're being mad at a bank for acting scummy about money is like being mad at a shark for swimming. It's just what they do. It's what they're designed to do.
And on that note, we want you to call Richard Szerman because why wouldn't you? He's a fun guy. And if you have trouble with what's going on, these zombie seconds or any kind of questions, what's the number? 24/7.
661-714-1400. That's my personal cell. I give it out all the time. Please feel free to call. If I don't answer, text. 661-714-1400. You can also get in touch with me through the station. My name is spelled pretty funny, so I'm pretty easy to find. But again, it's Rich Szerman. I'm with Alta Realty. And thank you, KHTS and its listeners. You guys make a difference. Thank you.
You bet. And we love having you in. I learn
Thanks.
so much every single time.